You don't want to see me, you want to see this. I got rhythm too. Hello, welcome back to my channel, A Bit More Desiree. I want to talk to you about difficult conversations. Ooh, how many of you have to have a difficult conversation soon, or tonight, or tomorrow? And it can be with a boss, or a boyfriend, or a girlfriend, or somebody that's important in your life, and you are nervous. You are nervous about this conversation and how it's going to go, and if you'll be able to say what you're really feeling in a way that that person will be able to hear it, and that it won't spiral out of control, the conversation, right? Because that is something that's life. We're human, and we're not always going to see things eye to eye, and sometimes we're going to, lock horns and not be able to agree on something, or we actually trigger each other in a really huge way, and we just need to get things flat. And get things flat means, clear the air, say what needs to be said, and you either want to be able to move on, or maybe you need to be able to end something. So in either case, how do you approach this conversation? And I am a big believer in being true to yourself, and being true to yourself means you have a right to express your true thoughts and feelings about a situation or a conversation or how you're being treated. And at the same exact time, whoever you're speaking with, likewise, they have every right to be their true self. And what has the conversation be difficult is you're not seeing it from the same point of view. And what I like to do when I have to have a difficult conversation, what really works well is I try to step back from my initial reaction, because we all have an initial reaction when we want to just be, it's like fight or flight, like, oh no, they didn't. Well, they did. So, so what are we going to do now? And so when I step back, I actually take inventory of what happened between the two of us, what got said, whether I said something or they said something and we hurt each other's feelings, or maybe we were, disrespectful in some way. And my goal in every conversation is to acknowledge the things that are going well between us. So you can just list, and in your heart, be able to identify, we have a strong history of caring about each other, or we've been able to get through difficult times, and I need to have a conversation with you that's not going to be easy for me, or being able to notice the good qualities in that person. Because I feel like if you start off being able to really genuinely say something in a positive regard about the situation or the person, then they're able to see that even though you're going to maybe share something difficult, you see them for who they are. You see the relationship for what's available, what has happened in a good way, and now you're about to address something that might be difficult. So after I get done saying what there is to say in a positive way, I actually let them know, I have to share some things with you, and I'm not sure how you're going to feel about it. And I try to be really clear about what are the things that I don't feel good about. And then after that, I go right into how I would like to, hear what they have to say, and then can we resolve it? The whole conversation is about resolution. Can we resolve it? So I bet you want to know, can you tell us a story? Because it would be so much easier in a story. I agree. So, I'm going to share a conversation with you that happened with my mom. And she and I she's no longer alive, so that's why I say past tense. First of all, we're best friends. We got along great. I adore this woman. She was my hero. She still is my hero. So I want to give you some context for our relationship. And one time she was at my house, and we saw an issue differently. She saw it really strongly from one point of view, and I saw it really strongly from another point of view. I'm not going to talk about what the issue was, but I just want you to realize we were having conflict. And she was at my house, and she was launching into this really big conversation that was and it was actually, she was speaking to, a family member of mine, and she was basically letting them know, if you don't do XYZ, then, what you would choose is gonna forever change your life in a really harmful way. And what she was referring to is just kind of like whatever religion you're choosing. And if you don't choose the right religion and you're in the wrong religion, your whole family could not make it. And that was a pretty big deal for me to have that statement live in the space of my house. And I love my mom, and I loved, my family member, and it felt so harsh to hear that. And so I remember in that moment, I asked my mom, I said, Mom, this is not okay. Like, I don't mind that you want to have this conversation, but it's really not okay with me to have this super, opinionated conversation here, at my house over this family event. And I would much prefer it if you had this conversation privately, whether it's in a bedroom, so it's not everybody in the house is listening to it, or maybe even like out to coffee. But I was just looking for some respect regarding my faith and my belief. And oh boy, that was tough. And as soon as I said that, she was not happy. She was like, she just looked at me like, you did not just say that. And my first thought was, this is my mom, I love her. And my second thought was, this is my house, and I get to have an opinion about what happens in my house. And that was the truth. And so I said, I tell you what, why don't we, let's go outside and talk about this, because I didn't want to turn this into this big blow up thing. It didn't need to be like that. So we went outside, we sat in one of our cars, and we started to have this dialogue about what just happened. And I said, Mom, I'm fine with that. You need to say what you need to say. It's important to you to say that, and it's important because those are your feelings. And it really didn't feel good, based on what I'm thinking, feeling, and believing, to have that said, so adamantly in a public space that happens to be my home. If we weren't at home, my house, you could say it anywhere else, and I have no problem. That's between you and that person. And so she still was like, oh, she wanted to be mad at me. But she also knew that she was the person who raised me to stand up for myself. And she was the person who said, I believe in, that we can be different, but we can always resolve things. And so I was really coming from a place of, she knew that, aspects of where I was coming from was a value she had instilled in me, and I loved that. But it turns out it was working against her in this conversation. And so anyway, it became clear really quickly we were not going to get on the same page about the conversation. And I knew it wasn't about that conversation. It was more about being able to have respect for each other. And I said, I tell you what, it sounds like we need to agree to disagree. And she thought about it, and she's like, you know what, you're right. Let's just agree to disagree, and we'll put this to bed so we can move on. And it got resolved. Oh, it was so awesome. It was so awesome. And it easily could have spiraled from there and gotten worse, but we didn't have that kind of relationship where either one of us wanted that. But what made it really hard is, this is like my mom. Like, I love her. Like, I don't want to ever, be in a situation where I feel bad about her or have negative thoughts. And I know she felt the same about me. So it got resolved, and it wasn't easy, but it's possible. And you can do that at different levels in all relationships. So that's my story, and I hope it's useful to you. And I look forward to seeing you in the next conversation. If this served you in any way, or you'd like to share your story about getting through difficult conversations, feel free to share below. Like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And I'm just really thankful for your time and attention.